a spiral matrix, right? So far we've been working with like just one dimensional matrix, and this is like an attempt into, or like a step into the 2D matrix world. I like this question because it kind of like helps us to use some of the array functions, that the inbuilt array functions. So we'll read the question and we'll try to solve this problem, right? So given an n by n matrix, it says return all elements of the matrix in a spiral order. So what that means is we get the top. So we have 1, 2, 3, then we have 6, 9, then we have 8 and 7, and then we have 4, and then we have 5. So what this means is that at each turn of the matrix, I would expect that the length reduces, right? And the width too, as we go on, until we get to the point where it's just like the last ones, or just like a straight line. Basically, we just have to unravel this matrix. Um, and so we have this example here, and we have this second example. I think question is pretty straightforward, right? There's no uh, understanding the question is like kind of like, yeah. So the the difficult part in this question is deciding how to go about it, right? So well, I was thinking that the best way to go about this question was to get the top of the matrix, then get the right, then get the bottom, and then get the left, and then just keep doing that until we don't have anything left in the matrix. But the problem with this is the fact that it keeps going round in circles, so we have to have a way to keep track of the direction. And because of the fact that we are not required to return, like we are not required to do this in place or whatever, right? So it allows me to kind of like, do what I want, which is great, right? So just like I said, we're going to get the top first. So we're going to write a function to get the top. We're going to call it get top, go figure, right? And it's going to take the matrix, and we're going to have the second function that is going to get the right, and this function is going to also take the matrix, and yeah, and then we're going to have next, we're going to take the bottom, right? So we're going to write a function that gets the bottom, and also takes the matrix. And then last but not least, we write a function that gets the left, right? So that's fine. So we have get left, and that's just going to be this function. So basically, um, so basically, my idea is going to be to get each section of the matrix and run through that section, like take off that section from, like, so when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Get top would essentially return this part of the matrix, right? And when it takes off this part of the matrix, the matrix is going, let's just write this here so it's easier to understand. So we have this matrix, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. Maybe it's difficult to see that it's a matrix because of how it's written, so I can write it like this, right? So get top is essentially going to take 1, 2, and 3, and so when we take off 1, 2, and 3, we now have 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, right? So this time we call get right, and it's going to take 6 and 9, right? So we take off 6 and we take off 9, then we call the function get bottom, and this time it's supposed to take 7 and 8, but you have to remember that you have to remember that it has to go in a clockwise manner, right? So we can't go 7 8, we have to go 8 7. So that's 8 and 7, right? That's great. And when we take that off, we're now left with 4 and 5, which is great. So because you remember it's going in a clockwise fashion, you can have 5 and 4. So we're going to have 4 and 5. And yeah, that's essentially what we have at the end. So uh, basically, you have to think about it. What array function in JavaScript allows you to get the first one, the like what array function allows you to get the first item in an array, right? Yeah, and that's going to basically, so this function is going to call get up. Yeah, I'm just gonna call get up here with the matrix. That's just it, right? And this function is going to call this function is going to call this matrix, and it's literally just going to take the top of this array. And to take the top of this array, that's going to be a shift function, right? So we just need to return matrix dot shift. So matrix dot shift just returns the first. So when we have 1 2, so this is basically, yeah, 1 2 3, right? So matrix dot shift returns this first one, so that's 1 2 3. So that's what we have here. I think get top function is actually like really easy to write, and because I'm going to be repeatedly calling get top until we get to a point where we don't have the top anymore, I'm going to have a base case here, and I'm going to check if matrix.length is equal to 0, and then I'm just going to return an empty array, and that's fine. So when we get top, we want to get right? So we'll call the get right function here. So this is fine so far. So now for the get right function, we don't have 1 2 3 anymore, right? Now we have 4 5 yeah, we have 4 5 6, 4 5 and 6, and we have 7 8 and 9, right? So that's fine. So now we have to decide how to get the 6th item and the 9th element in each of these arrays within this matrix. So how do we do that? We have to write a loop. There's no two ways about that. So we have to write a loop for let I equal to 0, I is less than matrix dot length. So as far as the length of this matrix is, so this matrix is has how what's the length of this matrix is 2, right? This is the first array and this is the second array, and that's 2. So as far as the I is less than the matrix at length, then I want to keep going. So that's fine. And so I'm going to actually declare I'm going to actually declare a variable here that I'm going to call output, and I'm just going to return that at the end of this one. I'm doing that because I'm going to be looping, and I don't want to return output until I'm done. So makes sense. So let I equal to 0, I less than matrix dot length, I plus plus. So that's fine. So what do we do now? So for this question, so to get the last one, so if you want to get the last item in an array, what do? You pop, right? But this is tricky because if I pop the matrix, if I do matrix dot pop, it's just going to pop this last one here. But we want to pop the last character in each of the arrays. So we want to pop 6 and we want to pop 9 and not the other way around, right? And get right is always just going to go from top to bottom, so we don't need to worry about this. So this is fine. So all right, so what we need to do output output the push, and this is just going to be matrix at the position I dot pop, since it's the last one, and this should give us 6 and 9, so that's fine, right? So when we are here, get right is going to, so when we're done with get right is going to call get bottom for us, right? So it's going to call the get bottom function with the remaining matrix, right? But we also have to be careful here that when our matrix comes back, when we call this function again and the length is 0, then we just want to return an empty array. But what if the length isn't 0 but we have something like this, right? If we have something like this, then we definitely also need to return an empty array for that. So I'm just going to check. So sorry. If matrix at matrix dot length -1 dot length. I hope this isn't confusing. I'm sure there's a much better way to do this, but I do it this way because it helps me understand what I'm writing, which is, I don't know. Okay, so get right, this get right function, it's a get right function. So yeah, get right, if the length of the matrix is 0, then we return an empty array. If the last item, right, in the matrix is an empty array, if matrix, oh wow, I didn't check for 0 here. Yeah, then we also return an empty array. Otherwise, we just go through the loop and then call get bottom. Now for get bottom, we want exactly what happened at get top, but so basically we want to get 7 and 8, but we want to reverse it when we return it, right? So that's easy to do. So we just need to return the matrix at, okay, so when we get the matrix here, we don't need to do this, we just need to get the last one. So how do we get the last one again? We just pop, right? So matrix dot pop is fine, then dot reverse. See, I told you, we get to actually use a lot of the array functions, right? And then here we just check if the matrix dot length is equal to 0, then we return an empty array. Then yeah, that's it basically. And then for get left, that's the last one here. So right now we don't have this anymore, but we call the get left function. Remember, we always call the function with the matrix, the remaining matrix, right? I think that this popping the values off kind of made this question a little bit easier to solve. So now when we want to get the left one, that's just, it's for this particular question, it's just going to be 5. Well, it's just going to be 4, right? It could be a lot longer. It could have been, let's say we didn't pop this off and it was 7, 8. So we should have had 7 and 4 as the length. So Just like we did for get right, we'll have to initialize an array for this one. But so the difference here is that we don't start at 0 for the row. We start at the length minus 1. And well, I could do this as I could declare another variable and put this there. I just call it key, just so I don't have to repeat that, right? And then as far as I is greater than 0, then I want to reduce that. Sorry. So okay, so I just need to output the push, and I need to push into this output array. I need to push into this output array the first one. So this time we're going for matrix dot so not just a matrix, so we are looking for this particular item in the matrix. So that's going to be this matrix, right? So if it's 0, give me a few minutes to think about this again. Okay, so if we have 4, 5, and then 7, 8, and we're trying to push into this, the first one here. So yeah, that should be dot shift. Yeah, because we're taking the first ones this time. And of course we want to return the output to this. Okay, and then don't forget to check if the matrix dot length is equal to 0, because if it's equal to 0, we definitely want to return an empty array for that. And also don't forget to check, so this one's where we actually have to get the items from inside the array. It's important that we check the items. It's important that we check that the item inside the array isn't 0 to start with, right? So at position 0, the length is equal to 0, because if it's equal to 0, then we just want to return an empty array. And yeah, I think this is it, right? But I'm kind of like scared a little bit to run this because I've tried this before, alright, it's off camera, but yeah. By the way, this problem actually took me a little bit of time to get. I wanted to solve this problem in a different way, and I couldn't. Right. Okay, now we've hit problem, and it's a syntax error. Oh my god, I'm not sure if that's, I hope that's the problem. I hope that's just what I have to worry about right now, because I didn't think I was going to have issues with this. Okay, so okay, I'm checking if the matrix at length is equal to 0. Is it possible that the matrix, the length of the matrix is less than 0? Let's just check if it's less than or equal to 0. Let's just go with that, right? For everything we're checking, let's just check if it's less than or equal to 0. I'm not sure that's possible, but I think it's a valid case to worry about. I think that's why this is failing, and if that's why this is failing, then left, get right, get left, get bottom, get right, get top. Oh, No, let's try again. Oh my god. Okay. Uh. Okay. It says if matrix dot length is less than or equal to 0, then return an empty array. Oh, undefined. That's weird. Sorry. I'm just trying to figure out why it's undefined. Okay. So line 20 gets in from here, right? Oh, okay. Maybe we. Oh my god. Yeah, this doesn't make that much sense. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just going to log matrix here and see what happens. So I have the matrix. It says matrix of length is undefined. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Okay. Spread it. Spread it like a rumor. That's basically what's happening, I think. Oh god, that's not what's happening. If matrix dot length is right. Okay. Matrix dot length. Let's try. Oh my god, we didn't pass in matrix here. Oh, yeah, we need to be careful about this. Then, yeah, that was a problem. I'm so sorry about that. We can submit, I think. Yeah. Well, it wasn't that fast, but I think it was an easy solution. And memory usage is kind of good. Sometimes uh, you have to either choose between the runtime or the memory. So I hope that was easy, or that you understood, uh, or that you learned something from that. Thanks, guys.